Marilyn Monroe, known as Norma Jean, she actually created, like her birth name was Norma Jean. She created the character of Marilyn Monroe. And she actually had a lot of trauma in her life. And I have shivers as I'm sharing this with you. She did not grow up in the circumstances that you would assume would be necessary to become a Hollywood superstar. She actually had everything against her as a child. A lot of trauma. And Norma Jean decided to create Marilyn Monroe. She actually, when she created that character, you can hear some of her interviews. She shares that she was so self-conscious. She would sit at the back of the room in acting classes, not enrolled in the class. She'd sneak in and listen because she did not feel worthy of enrolling in the class. And she said she felt more like a janitor, like at the back, than a participant. Eventually, she enrolled in them, but at the beginning, she did not feel worthy. She created the character of Marilyn Monroe. There are a few clips where she talks about that creation mode. And she would watch actors in the acting classes and how they showed up as participants. And she wrote about having the confidence to enroll one day. Then she would watch actors and actresses, and she wrote about that. She created Marilyn Monroe on paper first. Then she embodied her. There are clips where she talks about this as well. And there's one story that when I listened to it by the woman who actually was with her, I got full body shivers. And this is where my essay, and it's part of my book, where I just could see the whole thing, that like all of this is self-image. Everything is self-image. And the interview is with Susan Strasberg. I think that's how I'm saying it. She's also an actress. She remembers walking down the street in New York with Marilyn. And she's not the only one that tells a story. Apparently there's a photographer that also has a similar story where Marilyn said, "Would you like to see me become her?" She actually uses those words. And the woman said, "Become who?" And all of a sudden she looked over at Marilyn and she had a different energy. So here's the truth. Marilyn could walk down the streets of New York and not get any attention as Norma Jean. No one would notice her without changing any clothing, taking off sunglasses, putting on makeup, doing her hair. Norma Jean could become Marilyn through her mind, like a switch. And the people that worked with her said it was like a switch. She turned on from the inside. This is self-image. A decision, a commitment to be her. That's today. And she would do it in a moment. And Susan, who was with her, said all of a sudden, her energy changed. You could feel her become magnetic. Nothing on the outside. I want to say this because we think sometimes we've got to have makeup and the perfect hair. It's not the outside. This outside image is a reflection of the inside. She turned it on and all of a sudden people gravitated to her as Marilyn Monroe, like they would swarm her because of the switch. This is identity. She embodied Marilyn Monroe. Now, like some people say that she knew she knew obviously what she was doing in the end, but did she consciously create that character? Did she know about self-image? Did she know about how the mechanics of the mind works? I don't know. But if she did, amazing. If she didn't, she was an unconscious competent, meaning that she had an awareness that wasn't conscious to her. And over time, she knew that she could turn on this switch and became this character. Now, what's interesting is I'm fascinated with the magnetism that happened when she decided to embody the character. Roles came to her, people came to her, money, all of this was attracted to her because she decided that was part of her self-image. Isn't this incredible? The blowing your mind? In a moment. But she had to decide